Hello, folks. Welcome to the Manly Pinterest Tips Show. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. I've got a great guest for you today, and I can't wait to share her with you. And you know what? I'd love for you to go over to manlypinteresttips.com, subscribe to our email community so you'll never miss out on one of these great guests that we have here on the show. You can also now text 33444 to your mobile device. That's Manly Pinterest Tips to 33444. Now, ever since I have been doing this Manly Pinterest Tips show, Peg Fitzpatrick has been telling me that I need to have Megan on the show. And today we are going to be talking about boosting your blog with Pinterest. Now, Megan is the creator of Coffee Cups and Crayons, a blog full of simple fun and learning. She believes the kids' activities don't have to be complicated to be fun, and that learning is better with play. Now, Megan uses her teaching background to create a successful blog that millions of parents and teachers visit each year. Along the way, she fell in love with social media. She developed and hosted a monthly parenting series on Google Plus and can be often found pinning fun things to do and recipes she'll never make on Pinterest. Megan believes that acts of kindness and really good coffee can change the world, and her house really is full of coffee, cups, and crayons. Megan, thank you so much for being here with us today.
That was so fun. You're so good at intros. I love that. I'm going to hire you to do that all the time for me. I want to walk into the room and hear all of those things.
That's right. You need like a theme music when you come in. That'd be awesome. Yeah. If you guys, as I'm talking with Megan today, if you have any questions, make sure to enter them in the comments. I see Kim Bidges there. Hi, Kim. Thanks for stopping by. And we'll try to answer those as we go along through the show today. So let's just go ahead and get started with the questions. Megan, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you kind of went from teaching to becoming this successful blogger.
Well, I was in elementary school and high school and special ed and reading teacher. I did a bunch of different things. And then when my oldest was born, we moved out of town. And so I was home with her. And I started doing some like freelance educational writing. And I was making money. It was super easy. Could do it during nap time. And I loved it. And like all these people had blogs. And I was like, they're making no money. Why are they wasting their time? And then all of a sudden the bloggers started making more money than I was making for my articles. And I was like, I totally want to do that too. So hence I started a blog. So on my blog, I share kind of kids activities, but the really easy fun ones. So like you could have thought of it yourself, but you don't even need to. You can sit and drink your coffee and you can do something fun with your kids and it's not even that hard.
Very cool. So how long has your blog been around?
When is it? So 2.5 years, since the beginning of 2012. No, wow. 3 years. Wow. See, math is up as one of my posts today, adding, but I use pom-poms in it. I have no mental math yet.
There you go. So Coffee Cups and Crayons is pretty much just about easy kids activities. So I know you have a story behind it. So how did you come up with the name Coffee Cups and Crayons?
Well, coffee was pretty much easy. I'm pretty into coffee, pretty into coffee. And I liked the alliteration of the crayons as well. But it kind of all came together the one day when we always made fun of my father for leaving his coffee cups everywhere, in the microwave. And then you're like, how'd you not remember that you were heating that up to drink it? Then on one day I found myself doing it, and all over my couch were crayons, everywhere. And I was like, who can even color if none of the crayons are even in the crayon box? So it was a very easy brand to get behind.
Very cool. Yeah, my mom, we tease her that her coffee will glow. As many times she nukes one cup of coffee, it's going to start glowing anytime. So what kind of is your typical publishing schedule for your blog? I mean, how many posts do you try to do a week or a day? What's kind of your schedule?
So what we do, especially right now in the summer, is three or four posts a week. And I kind of have a general editorial calendar that I use with the topics that I want to hit on however many times a month. And it kind of depends on the season. So things that I write about all of the time would be busy bags, science experiments, different series that I'm doing, math activities. I'm doing one right now, acts of kindness. So I have certain things that do really well. They're ongoing long series, part of my cornerstone content on my blog. So I make sure I hit those all over and then fill them in with just the little fun things here and there. And now I have writers who are awesome and completely have been helping me out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask, how big is your team? Are they volunteers, or do you pay them by article, or how do you How did you build
volunteers?
Oh, very
There
cool.
are volunteers out there. Somebody call me. No, I'm just kidding. No. I pay them right now. Everybody writes one post a month, and I pay them on a monthly basis.
Gotcha. So how many writers do you have for you?
5 currently.
Okay.
It kind of like fluctuates between 5, 4, 5, 6, kind of depending on people who get too busy and, you know, kind of life.
Gotcha. So did you like put it on an appeal? Are these all people who have been, you know, brought up and part of your community in your blog that you said, hey, thanks for participating. I've seen your comments. Would you want to write for me? Is that how you kind of found them?
In a couple different ways. So I did, I'm part of a kid blogging network community. So I did mention in there, I was having problems with my wrist last year and couldn't like quite keep up the amount of time on the computer that I needed to. And like meet with the doctor was like telling me that I had to do. So I kind of asked if anybody wanted to, as a paid position, you know, whatever. And from there, so I had some people that were interested initially. The main core team of my writers right now, though, are all bloggers who had started after me that were kind of looking to build their following. And so, well, Colleen doesn't, but she should. But what they do is they like also get to promote themselves in addition to.
Gotcha. So it's kind of a mix of paid versus guest blogging.
No, they're all paid. I'm a good payer. Yeah.
Very cool. So how do you come up with new content ideas? I mean, that's a lot of stuff to do every week. I mean, 3 posts a week. I mean, that's a pretty heavy content calendar. How do you come up with these new ideas?
Well, I'll tell you this. So I would say the age range of the kids that my activities are geared for are like 2 to 12. So kids in those age groups, they need whatever it is. They need a lot of practice with whatever it is. So you kind of like plan your content in like clusters. So if, say, in real life, we're playing with colors a lot, like you play with colors a lot, so you're doing a lot of stuff, then you kind of just want to spread it out, though, because maybe not everybody else in their houses are doing colors and that's all they want to receive is information about it. So then I kind of like will photograph things and save them. We intentionally do activities, which has been really, really fun for like our family. So we will, I'll say, oh, I haven't had a science experiment, and I'll ask the kids what they want to try. And so some of them are pre-planned, some of them are kind of just what we're doing in life. And then I do a lot of acts of kindness, which a couple years ago we started doing right before Christmas as a countdown to Christmas in our family. We did one every day, and it was really just awesome for our family. And like it just was fabulous. So we do a lot of them. Like if you ask my kids, they'll tell you that they're kindnessy, that we're kindnessy in our family. And I intentionally encourage them, and they develop a lot of those. So I have more acts of kindness than you could ever want. So a lot of the content, once you start going, it just kind of generates itself.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned you were taking photos, and I know a lot of bloggers, especially bloggers who are just starting out, struggle with image. So do you take all your own photos for your articles, and do you provide those for your writers and take the photos for them, or do they provide their own photos? How does that kind of work?
So I would say for the majority of the posts that I write, I take all of my own photos. There's some that are more parenting type topics that I wouldn't want necessarily like to have a picture of one of my children branded with. It just doesn't fit quite well. So on my blog for myself, one of the big changes with when I first started blogging, the majority of my traffic was not from Pinterest. The majority of my traffic was from Google. So that once Pinterest really caught on and it was like this huge, snowball effect, I started to focus way more on the images. So now I kind of have a general style guide that I use for myself, and I do have guidelines for my writers, size guidelines, like how we do collages, just sort of general outlines, so that it gets harder and harder every day, but so that ideally somebody would see something on Pinterest in a sea of all these pictures and not just be drawn to it, but also say, oh, I bet that's so-and-so's. And I can do that with some people. And that's my goal, is that other people can do that with my work as well.
That's a great point, because I talk a lot about Peg Fitzpatrick and Rebecca Radice, because you can tell their pins. I mean, you can tell what their stuff, and I've been trying to do that with my style. Mine is kind of a retro kind of style that fits with my background and everything. And so that's a very good point for designers and people who are starting out on Pinterest to, and it takes a while. I mean, you can even go back and look at Rebecca's stuff from when she started to where she is now, how it's changed. And so it's okay to change, but try to get that style guide and get that style down, I think makes a big difference in.
Well, and even now, I have so many posts that I didn't do that with that are just like, you cringe when you see them, but they are doing well. And they have like a life of their own. So I like try to go back and revamp them to now fit into what the look of the blog and the brand is now.
Yeah.
I wish I could do them all fast though, because some of them are just painful. I even took down some posts because I was like, oh, I can't ever make this look pretty. Like what was I thinking? Like this was awful. And then I had people email me, hey, I have this pinned and it went away, and I'm like, I'll put it back up, but I don't know why you want to see it.
Exactly. I have some like that too, and I'm scared to take them down because that exact reason. So did you say that most of your traffic now for your blog comes from Pinterest?
It does. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes I don't have a huge Facebook following. I mean, I guess huge is relative depending on where you are, but I get good traffic from Facebook. I know people with huge Facebook followings that will share my stuff, and then I get a great influx, but nice, steady, like everyday traffic is either from Google or Pinterest, and Pinterest like wins lately. It wins also because that is what I intentionally am focusing on.
Gotcha. Last week we talked with Natalie Ekdahl about building community. So how did you, and I know it's a tough thing to do for especially new bloggers, how do you build a community around your blog?
Well, you know what I'll tell you is that like when I first started blogging, I loved the idea of like collaborating with other bloggers, but actually building a community really wasn't on my radar. So I think that's like one of the fun like byproducts of having a blog and being in social media that makes me much more energized and very excited about doing it. That makes me want to continue doing it, that I hadn't realized I would enjoy so much. And I think that what happens is that when you are really excited about something and really passionate about something, people can tell. And so I think that everyone's like looking to connect anyways. So someone just needs to reach out. I do that all the time with readers, with like bloggers. I have some popular science experiments that are like really popular, and people will write me and say, I tried it with this, like, did you ever try it with that? And then I'm writing them back, can I put this online? Because I definitely want to try it with that, because it sounds so awesome. And so I have a lot of, but it's just the coolness, like we're both that excited about it. And like, so, even if you're newer, that kind of like starts small. And then once you can start to look for more opportunities to connect with people as you go.
Gotcha. Well, we were talking about community, and I want to bring up this person who's in my community, and I love her to death. Dawn, thanks for stopping by. She goes, I am here with coffee in hand and ready for some Jeff C fun, and here to meet Megan. So she's a fellow. Yeah, she's a fellow coffee lover. So you go check her out. She's on Instagram a lot and on Google Plus, and she's a blast. So we're talking about community. And you mentioned a little bit. I know you're big on collaboration because you do stuff with your science stuff. You work with people with Holly Homer, who does the Kids Activities blog. I was kind of interested, how does that work? Because, and I get this question too with people like Cynthia Sanchez and Vincent Ng, who are Pinterest people as well. They say, well, aren't you competitors? Isn't that a big competing against each other? So how do you share and grow your audience by working together?
Well, I will fully say that the success that I have right now is in large part to collaborating with others in every way. Because one, it's so much more fun. It makes you much more excited, and it makes the work easier to do. Like that's like first off. But two, everyone has different skill sets. Everybody has different things that they know. So that's like fabulous to learn from. I mean, I learned so much just from reading Holly's blog posts.
Right.
and noticing, oh, she changed this, like, oh, she changed that. Now I want to do that too. You know what I mean? Like that you wouldn't even believe. But also for when you do a collaborative project or series, or you get to be part of someone's like collaborative like Pinterest board, it is a chance for you to just multiply your audience like you wouldn't believe. And if you are like producing good stuff that people are interested in, it becomes such a great opportunity. For Kim, who I saw in the audience, has a fantastic, extremely like active after school activities Pinterest board. And she had asked if I wanted to be part of the after school team, and we did weekly posts and like pinned from that board. And it not only had me start thinking, because I knew it was coming, we were doing all this stuff together, it had me pre-planning stuff that I probably wouldn't have thought of anyways. It opened up my audience to so much of the stuff. And I think also when you collaborate with other people, it just makes it easier for you because no one ever wants to see your stuff. I don't even have that many posts that I could share them all day long on every social media channel of just myself.
Right.
We'd all be bored because it'd be like at some point I'd run out. You like using your other people's stuff makes it so much easier. So for, as a matter of fact, to keep talking about the after school board is an easy example. It's hard to find content to share. It makes it much easier if you're part of good teams and good boards and good communities and tribes that have it.
Right.
So for instance, when I try to pin multiple times throughout the day, like everyone does, I'm sure, but I don't have that much time all the time. I mean, I would love to sit there for hours and find cool stuff, but that's not like feasible. So when you can go to an awesome board, scroll through it of stuff that you know is high quality and repin it and get that out there and share it. It's building my audience because they're seeing more stuff from me on a consistent basis. It's getting my name out there too for pinning it. And it's also getting theirs out there. So it's just a total win-win.
Yeah, totally agree. I think collaboration is the same thing for me, has changed my business completely. Being able to collaborate with people in my industry and across the nation is just huge. And what your point was about going to people that you trust on Pinterest is huge, I think, for new people, because people follow your account because they can trust your pins. They know that the links go to the right spot. There's no junk in there. And so I know that if I go to your board, that's high quality stuff. I know if I go to Kim's board, that's high quality stuff. And so when you're first getting started on Pinterest, that is really key to do, is to really, focus and make sure you're pinning quality content so you don't lose your audience.
Well, and you're in the trenches at that point. So whether like in my genre where it's like parenting and activities and that kind of stuff, I am parenting. I do need activities. It's just, it makes my life easier as a reader of other people's work to be able to find it as well. And it gives me ideas. It's just like fantastic. Plus it's more fun.
Yeah. And here's a comment by our friend Kim, who says, paying attention to those around you tend to pin from can help you with building up that community to work with. Love having Megan Sheakoski as part of our after school team on Pinterest, which we talked about, that done many projects together. So thanks, Kim, for that comment. Yeah, because just being on those teams really can just open up huge opportunities. So that was one of the hardest things that I had to get over when I first started is, yes, they may be in the same space as you, and technically they may be competitors, but if you can get over that, huge opportunities abound. So.
Well, and I think that the online world is very different than somewhere else. If you're in your town and you have a pizza restaurant and you're in a small town and someone else does, there could be benefits to working together, but pretty much like they are your competitors. Right. When we're talking about online, there are millions and millions of people, and they all want all of the information. There's enough people out there like for everyone. So why not share them and everybody gets more? It makes it's a different kind of mindset. If when you are looking at something when it's like a fixed amount, they're limited by the number of people with internet connections, but other than that, there's a lot of them out there. Right,
exactly. So do you cross promote your community to other networks? I know you do it to Pinterest, but do you share the same thing on Facebook that you do on Pinterest, or do you stagger it? Kind of what are some strategies that you use when you cross promote it on other networks?
So I will say I do it, I share it everywhere, but not at the same time, because I, like, for myself, my, like, core readers are parents who are looking for, like, fun things. So, I mean, I will do it if I have a sponsored post. That's all required to be shared on the same day. And I will make sure that I intentionally get other stuff in and around it so that it doesn't feel like, so that it becomes more interesting for people. But I found that I pin all my stuff right away, and I repin it a lot. And I think that was one of the biggest differences for me as the blogger. Like, I didn't feel comfortable doing that at first.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, you don't have that many places to pin it. And like we were talking about before the show started, that I have a large number of group boards.
Right.
The funny thing is that I actually took myself off of a bunch of them too, so I had even more. But when you have spaces to put stuff, it makes it much easier to continuously promote your stuff. And the more and more content that you have, that also helps too. But for example, when I have a new post and we create a pin chain, or whatever you would call it, of where it's going to be pinned to and what order, I have a lot of different content in a lot of different genres. So I want to have all of those like places. Also, I want to be sharing that information too. So it makes it one-stop shopping to just like go to share it there and get other content from there.
Gotcha.
I forgot what the original question was though. Did I answer it?
Yeah, you did. But you brought up something that I skipped over before, and I know a lot of people have questions about this. But how did you start monetizing your blog? You mentioned sponsored posts. How did that start, and what are some tips that you would give like new bloggers?
So the first thing that I did was put AdSense on there, just straight out AdSense, like 3 ads, followed the directions online and just did it like that. Played around with the spacing, whatever. And for even like the newest blogger, my sister just started a blog very recently. She's a preschool teacher and has a preschool blog. And right from the get-go, she had AdSense on it because why not?
Right.
It's like for people that have been blogging a long time, and this is like a hard transition as we transition into these things. But now people are used to seeing ads on blogs. So if you have a blog, and you might as well have ads on it. There's no reason not to. Right from the get-go, it teaches people what to expect when they come to your site. In addition to that, one of the things I learned from people that have been blogging longer than I is not to just have one revenue stream. Right. But the more ways that you can make money, the better. And there's many people that are better at this than I am because I'm a little nervous about delving into certain like areas. But so I now have an ad network where I have an ad manager that manages all the different ads on my site, on desktop, on mobile. But that was kind of a process. So I would say at first I did AdSense, and then I added in some more. I worked with some companies and kind of backfilled it, probably not that well, but kind of like understood a little bit of the terminology so that before I handed it over to someone else, who I harass all the time, but like handed it over to someone else, I felt like I had enough background that if they weren't doing a good job, I wouldn't know it. Maybe I don't know as much as they do, but at least I would be able to like monitor it myself.
Right.
So that's what I do for ads. I do sponsored posts. I actually love them because I think they're some of the very best posts that I have on my blog. Because it takes you so much time because you're so worried about getting it right and like doing all this, and how the pictures are so pretty because it's someone else paying you. And so for that one, right now I use a mix of using third-party networks for sponsored posts and just like direct contact. So people will email me and say, hey, we'd love to have you on this campaign or whatever. But at first, some people will will email, especially smaller bloggers, who they may because they may have a smaller budget and that would work for them versus going through a large network. But I think there's so many third parties out there that when you want to get into the world of sponsored posts, to kind of research them and ask around and see what would be a good fit, because it makes it so much easier. It's hard to deal with sponsors, and having somebody in the middle makes it so much easier.
Yeah. That's funny you mentioned that because I just did my first sponsored post and it was with Braun. And you're right. You want to make, which is so funny because I'm like, I'm not shaving my beard. And I was on how to shave your, it was, what was the post? It was how to trim your beard and still be manly. And so, but they loved it. And but yeah, you're right. You want to have the pictures right. I mean, I obsessed over how long it was, and you have to craft it. So yeah, I think they got their money's worth. But you're right. It's a whole different thing, but it's a lot of fun too. So
Well, and the thing about it is that I was nervous at first. Well, nervous-ish. I'm probably less nervous than other people to ask for a lot of money. So I always asked for like more, with the idea that if they said no, it was okay for me. So I did not, it wasn't like, some people are in a position where they need any chances they get for the money, and that's like different. Right. But I could take the no, because it's a lot of work. So if you don't get one, you're kind of like, oh, well, I get a nice break.
Yeah.
But also because of the fact that the work lives on. So stuff that I did when I was first starting for like $150 for the post, I still promote it. It's still on my site. It still looks cute. I might as well get the page views for it. So I'm still promoting it. So they totally got their money's worth. So I like think to myself that, sometimes I, try to shoot for the moon a little bit, but I'm never going to stop. Like they're always going to keep getting like their money's worth out of it. So I think that it's kind of a way to sell it to a sponsor and a way to kind of sell it to yourself that, it's okay. Go ahead and get
right. Well, and then also because Pinterest has such long shelf life, that if you're, that's what my philosophy was too. Cause I didn't lowball it either. I said, this is it. And so, but it's on Pinterest forever. I mean, people repin that stuff, and if you do a good job with your images, they'll keep getting repins. And so, yeah, I'm totally with you about they're getting their money's worth. So,
yeah, and they might not know it at first. I think that's a good way to sell it to them. And I think that especially like brands who've heard of Pinterest and they want everybody pinning all their stuff, of course, but they're not really understanding like the depth of it. It's a really good way to take the time to educate them a little bit about the longevity of things. So while Facebook's awesome, and it's like, if you can get like a great Facebook share, I mean, it is a traffic, like that's fantastic, but it's not long lasting. So overall, I think they always get their money's worth, right? Yeah, I love that. That's why I got into Pinterest, is because of the long-term traffic. So, okay, here's the question of the day. Let's talk about Pinterest group boards, because I counted. You've got 124 boards, and 66 of them are group boards. And this is something I struggle with my group board strategy. I'm trying to get better at my own personal group boards. So how many are yours, and how many are you just contributing to? I would say, and I'm actually shocked here that I'm 66, but I would say that probably 6 are mine, 5 or 6, just a handful are my own, and the other ones I contribute to. Some of them are enormously huge boards where it just flies so fast. So some of the boards are so large, and the people that are pinning to them are pinning so often that the frequency with which I would pin to them is amazing. I would never pin to like any of my own personal boards like that. So they're kind of like used differently. A lot of the boards that I belong on, like that are really, really good, they have rules of what you can pin and what you can't pin, and how many times and how long in between of the same thing it has to be, and whatever. So taking that all into account, but yes, I do have a lot, but that's like part of my Pinterest like strategy.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I want to know kind of your strategy for the group boards and how you manage so many, because that's been my struggle.
So I will say this, like for myself, I started at 100, just like everyone else, and really feel like I have had to take every single one of my followers out to dinner. Like I felt like I've really earned them as we've gone. Right. Like it wasn't, like sometimes on like Facebook or something, you get like a bunch at once, and it's like, they kind of are easier. But I feel like with Pinterest, they've been slow and steady, and I've earned their respect, because it hasn't been easy. And
well, you've got like over 45,000 followers. I mean, that's a lot of dinner.
See, do you understand what it's like to be me? That's why I could never make those recipes I'm pinning. I'm just pinning them for fun. But part of that is that I feel like not everybody's following you for the same stuff. And I remember this very clearly. So I'm a kids activities blogger, and in no way, shape, or form would I ever have an alcoholic drink on my site.
Right.
It is so not at all that fits with my brand. But in real life, I totally would have a glass of wine or like a fun margarita. So I remember like, and I like to pin food. So I remember I like had pinned something and I got like emails from people that like thought it was awful. This was like a while ago. I thought it was awful that I was like pinning this stuff. And I was like, now how do I handle this? Because it's not part of my brand, but like, come on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you don't have to drink it if you don't want to. This isn't like peer pressure here. Just ignore it and
Right.
go on. And so I was like really thinking about it. So what I decided to do was respond and say, you don't have to follow all of my boards if you don't want to. And I like gave them a screenshot of, you know, here's how you can follow the ones that may be more interesting to you. And so what they ended up doing was just unfollowing my Cheers board. I mean, they really just were like, that was very personal for them. But I got kept them as a follower by like, you know, doing the rest. So I like think to myself that on any given day, it's just like my editorial calendar for my blog. There are things that I pin that people are going to be expecting. And sometimes I wasn't as strategic at the beginning. So people could be following me for any old reason. I have no idea. And so I like to pin enough stuff that no matter why you're following me or which board you're following, you're going to get good quality stuff and that you're expecting.
Gotcha.
So some of my group boards are totally in line with my blog. Some of them are in line with some stuff I do on my blog sometimes. And some of them have nothing to do with my blog at all and just fit more of my personal brand or myself.
Right. So do you pin on those? Are you pinning every day to group boards? Do you have a schedule that you do that I'm going to do like 5 kids activities to all these 5 different group boards and stagger them throughout the day, or what's kind of your strategy on, I guess, frequency of your group?
So it would depend on the board. So I'm on a couple kids activities boards where you're only allowed to pin your own stuff once or twice a day, and you have to wait 6 months to pin it again. So then we keep track of that. Okay. So I have an assistant that helps. She's much better at spreadsheets than I am. So we have that all organized somewhere because I do not want to break the rules. Don't want to be kicked off. Like, so that is all recorded and organized, and so that we can see when we are going to pin it again. New posts, depending on what it is, will go out to in intervals to a large number of boards over like the course of time. Every board that it would ever fit on. We schedule those like immediately with a new post. Old content that's like seasonal would do the same thing. So we just would sit there and we would like look at every possible board that it could fall on, and we think they could fall on a lot sometimes, and we would schedule them out.
Gotcha.
And on a daily basis, I'm part of different tribes where we pin each other's content. Shared in other places too, but we would pin each other's content. So I use collaborative boards for that as well, because I want they're sharing my stuff. I want them to share it to the best possible place they can. So I'm going to share it to the best possible place with maximum exposure for them as well. And so on a daily basis, depending on what's going on, I have other people's pins that I'm scheduling out or doing manually, either way, to not just my own boards, but to also like to these collaborative boards as well. Some of the big boards that go fast, I will repin my power pins to as often as I can get on the computer to do it, because it's not flooding their feed, especially with the smart feed. It's not flooding their feed, and my good pins do well, and that's
Gotcha.
traffic.
So and I assume that those ones you're pinning on as much as you can, that's okay with the rules. And that's one of the things, you know, people I don't think sometimes understand. They don't read the rules for a group board they get invited to or asked to, and it's usually their own fault they're getting kicked off.
Well, and that's the biggest thing. And that's, for a while, I wasn't like, I would not say that Pinterest was as big of a traffic driver for me, because I was so intimidated. I was so conservatively pinning to places because I didn't want to get kicked off. I didn't want to break the rules. These are people that were nice enough to open up their spot for me. I don't want to do it wrong. Right. So it takes a lot of organization up front. But once you have a system in place, it's pretty easy to maintain it. I would say, though, that no board is any better than any other one. I just have better pins. So it's not like, now some of them you get repins faster, but I have boards that have way less followers and I can pin something to it. And down the road, that could be the pin that really took off. So I have 66 apparently. So I can balance it out. I don't feel the need that they all have to go to just this person's board because it's so good. I feel like I can balance them out. I use though, the analytics in Pinterest, you know, how you can see which ones are like the most repinned, which ones are the most clicked on. I personally like the ones that are the most clicked on because that's like kind of my goal. And I repin those all the time.
Okay.
Because I figure they are, and I don't even pay attention to where I pin them. Well, not to a board with rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if it's one pin a day, then they would never go on there. But there's a lot of like DIY and craft and food boards that you can just pin so much to. I will pin them every single day. That same pin though, I will just keep repinning it to all of those.
Gotcha. Now, do you use a scheduling tool or anything like that?
So we're kind of we're in the middle of scheduling tools because I have been using Viral Tag, and I didn't see a dip in growth or repins ever with any of the changes that have been rolled out of Pinterest. So I am a little nervous to change it. We have just started using Tailwind as well and are kind of, using both. I personally would be happy to switch over to Tailwind. I'm just a little nervous to mess with like a good thing. So we kind of do that. I will say though, I manually pin a lot.
Tailwind is really awesome for the manual pinning. I mean, for the interval pinning, they just are rolling out right now. So I can go
we also use Board Booster, which is the one that does that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that has really helped my group board stuff. So would you say that one of the most important things that you've done to grow your following on Pinterest is using group boards?
Yes.
Okay.
I would 100% say that. That being said, I would be very, so I first didn't understand collaborative boards and like why people would want me on them. It seemed like really strange, the whole mindset, like why you have more followers than me. Why do you want me to pin to it too? It seems like you're just giving away your traffic. And so at first I said no to some things and like they asked me again, which was awesome. And then, but also once I was like, oh my God, if they're fine with it, then I'm fine with it. I'm just going to keep pinning. Once I got to that point, I said yes to even more than 66 collaborative boards apparently. And I think that was a big mistake. I mean, 66 seems ridiculous probably to most of you, but they weren't all a good fit and they weren't all right for my brand. And pinning to a board that's not as good or active or as quality doesn't like work as well. So I think that like being choosy, it sounds ridiculous, but being choosy about your collaborative boards makes a big difference.
But see, it's worked for you. So I'm not, I mean, 66 seems like a ton to me, but if it's working, I mean, you've got a ton of followers, it's driving a ton of traffic. So, test it out. And I would tell people to try group boards and, read the instructions. And it's okay also to leave a group board that's not working for you. So
I would, maybe it was last summer, maybe it was last fall. I think I left like 30 of them. So,
right.
So, I mean, that didn't hurt me at all. So, I mean, I would say do what's working and figure it out.
Well, I wanted to read one question really quick from Kim when we talked about sponsored posts. She goes, what are your tips, Megan Sheakoski and Jeff C., for how to include disclosure on your pins to sponsored content to be sure you are following Pinterest terms of service?
It's so tricky. I think we should ask Kim this question because I bet she does. I bet she's better at it than I do. I would say for myself, what I do on everything is thank the sponsor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know a better way to do it. I hate to put the hashtag sponsored ever. Like, I don't ever want to use it. Like, it doesn't seem to add enough value for me. When I'm on Twitter, I will say blah, 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 and I will write out the word sponsored by and then tag the sponsor. I just feel like it's, I don't know. So I just thank people, and I would love a better way.
Yeah, and And I struggle with that too. In fact, I actually reached out to Holly because I know I was seeing a lot of hers on Instagram. She would do a sponsored post. And one of the things is I cross promoted on Instagram too. And so she was saying, you know, the same kind of thing. Thank the sponsor. In her post, she does at the beginning and also at the end, just to cover your bacon with the FICC. So do research when you get a sponsored post. If you get one, make sure you are disclosing it the way you need to be. So,
and I would also say that is something to consider when you're taking sponsored posts. Like, you might not want to take as many so that you can develop like better relationships. Like, a lot of the companies I work for months and months and months at a time. So it's just part of a series anyways, and it makes it much easier to work in instead of just awkwardly, hello, today's Monday, thank you for, you know what I mean? Like, so I think being choosy helps too.
Yeah, and it's important, I think, not to do a sponsored post unless it fits your brand. I mean, you just don't, you know, I'm not going to get a sponsored post for Victoria's Secret. If so, there's a big problem. But, you know, so make sure it matches, you know, what your brand is and your personal brand and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to pull up this comment just because I think it's great. But Dawn says, I followed, liked, and I am on the verge of assessing of Megan, just saying. So you got a new fan. So that's awesome. Thanks, Dawn.
Don't follow all my boards though, because now you've heard the talk that I'm going to repin everything over and over again.
That's right. So we're getting close to the end of the time, and I don't see much more questions. Thanks for everyone who's asked the questions in the comments. This is a question I ask all of my my guests is, what's some advice that you have for guys for getting started on Pinterest? Because this is the Manly Pinterest Tip Show.
I would say this. Men don't realize how helpful of an organizational tool Pinterest is, like, at all. Like, it doesn't matter what your business is. It doesn't even matter if you want to use Pinterest to promote your business, just to organize yourself. Because the thing about it is we all need information and we all need to store it somewhere, and it's so much easier to store it in Pinterest than anywhere else. And you can use it for almost anything. Like, one of my friends is a realtor, and I was like, how are you not on Pinterest? Like, how is that like not a thing? And so we were saying, like, it's like, well, I don't know. And I was like, well, one, just to share content about like the area, you know what I mean? Like, how great is that of a resource for people, you know, whatever. I'm like, but two, it helps you stand out. Like, he's super into baseball. Yeah, I can't remember. So let's just say baseball, because you don't know anyway. Way into it. And I was like, you could just have a board for that. Like, think of how you could connect with people. Plus, don't you just want to have all that? I mean, it's like, it really is. And then if you're like my husband and you, as we were talking, if you're the one that has to make dinner, it's a great piece to store recipes. Yeah. And I have some great recipes on my site. Some of them are even one pot, not written by me, by a lovely Blair who has really fun recipes.
Hey, I'm all about one pot recipes. That's what I like to do. So that's awesome. And I'm glad. It was so good to hear that your husband's on Pinterest. I was like, yes. Yeah, continuing to grow our ranks. Okay. So Megan, where can we find out more about you and your services?
You can go right to my blog. It's coffeecupsandcrayons.com, or if you'd like to follow me on Pinterest, I'm under Megan Sheakoski there.
Yep, and I've got all those links to all her profiles on the event page on Google+, and it'll also be on my website, so you guys can go over there and see that too. Because, you know, I love it when you guys go over to manlypinteresttips.com. You can click on that sidebar, subscribe, and you'll always get an email, so you'll know when we have great guests like we had today with Megan. Because at manlypinteresttips.com, we're always adding testosterone one pin at a time. See you next time, everyone. Megan, thanks so much for being here. Bye.